Mr. President, after the mistakes that have been made in this war, when you do as you did yesterday, where you raise two-year-old intelligence talking about the threat posed by al-Qaeda, it's met with increasing skepticism. Majority in the public, growing number of Republicans appear not to trust you any longer to be able to carry out this policy successfully. Can you explain why you believe you're still a credible messenger on the war?
Well, first of all, let me try to explain why, as you say, if it is true, the American people don't appear to trust me anymore. It is because you and the rest of the people in the media have been working in lockstep with the Democrats since the election of 2002 to undermine this administration and everything we have tried to do. Oh, to be sure, we enjoyed a brief second honeymoon with you after 9/11. Because after 9/11, the American people were feeling stunned. They were reeling on their heels from an attack from a vicious enemy on our soil. But it didn't take long for you to get back to your game, did it? To you in the media and to the Democrats, good news out of Iraq has always been bad news for you. Anything that makes the decisions we've made in this administration look correct and appropriate has always been bad news for you. So yeah, I'll admit there is a certain level of distrust in the American public of this administration. But I also realize, as I'm sure you do but won't admit, that distrust is the result of the constant hammering by the loyal opposition against this administration and your blatant following of Democratic Party talking points and principles against this administration. Next question.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to ask you about the Petraeus report, which, as you say, will be in September, and a report on progress. Doesn't setting up the September date give the enemy exactly what you've said you don't want them to have, which is a date to focus on? And doesn't it guarantee a bloody August? And while I have you, sir, the phrase you just used, a different configuration in Iraq that you'd like to see, is that a plan B?
In any theater of war, configurations on the battlefront change from day to day to day. If it would make it easier for you in the media to write your news stories, then as configurations change from day to day to day, you could call them Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D, Plan E, Plan F. I'll stay in the White House as Commander-in-Chief and try to do everything in my power to ensure a successful outcome in our battle against Islamic extremism overseas, while you can sit in your cubicle at the New York Times and attach letters to my plans if that's what makes you feel good. Next question.
Are you surprised by reports today from the Iraqis that sectarian killings are actually on the rise to pre-troop surge levels? And if I may, yesterday after your speech, Senator Joe Biden said al-Qaeda in Iraq is a, quote, Bush-fulfilling prophecy. They weren't there before, now they're there. He said U.S. troops should get out of the middle of a civil war and fight al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Well, this idea of American troops getting out of the middle of a civil war and fighting al-Qaeda. Who in the hell do you think we are fighting over there in Iraq and Afghanistan right now? You think we're fighting the Shriners? You think we're fighting some soccer team? We are fighting al-Qaeda, but there's something else that bothers me here. There are many different groups of Islamic extremists, but somehow the media in this country has latched on to the idea that the only entity out there that poses any sort of a threat against the American people and against Western culture and civilization is a group called al-Qaeda. It's just one of many. There are many Islamic extremist groups. There are some in Saudi Arabia. We have Hamas. We have Hezbollah. We have extremist groups in Syria, Afghanistan, the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, wherever they are. They come under many different names. They require, in many cases, the same and in some cases different approaches. We're not just focusing on Al-Qaeda. We're focusing on Islamic fascism. And by the way, terrorism is only half a word. Remember that. The other half of that word is Islamic. We'll be back.
Somebody's gotta say it, and he does. Day in and day out. Turn up the radio and enjoy every word from Neal Boortz.
Oh, man, that's fun. Somebody send a tape of that to George Bush, would you?